Pokemon Go is changing. I can feel it. You can feel it. The question is it a good change? Which is what I'm going to attempt to answer today. The first part is identifying what this change is and what you've probably been feeling if you've played Pokemon Go over the last couple of years, or if you played years ago and if you returned recently. It's expensive. It feels like the game is all about paid things right now. Paid Go Pass Deluxes, paid tickets, paid events, paid raids. It's all paid. It feels very expensive, almost suffocatingly expensive. If you're a free-to-play player, it is nearly impossible to play. That's not true. You could obviously play free, but it's very hard to take advantage of all of the cool, exciting things that keep coming to the game without spending kind of an obscene amount of money on it. Now, why is this happening in Pokemon Go? Why does the game feel like this right now? If you didn't see all these announcements, basically a couple months ago, a company called Scopely purchased the games division from Niantic. Niantic are the original developers and owners of Pokemon Go. They have owned and operated and ran the game until this year, 2025. And this year, starting I think a month or two ago, a new company called Scopely basically came in and bought out the entire gaming side of Niantic, which includes all of Pokemon Go. So Pokemon Go, the developers, the teams, everything is now owned by a completely different company, right? So used to be owned by Niantic, now owned by Scopely. That's old news. What it didn't do, though, when we talked about the initial announcement, is do some math and some estimates. Math is fun. I'm not good at math. Quick break because my Go Pass Deluxe ends in a couple days and I need to claim this right now, which includes the potentially shiny exclusive background Zapdos, which is a great time to talk about today's sponsor, Cash App. And cool thing with Cash App, they have this debit card that you can fully customize yourself. So of course I went with the all black metal card with some of my favorite things on it, like fire and cats and money and happiness. It's cool because you can change the colors, you can add stamps, you can even draw on it, which makes your card feel like it's actually yours. Plus imagine putting this bad boy down on the check on a date. Definitely getting a second call. And it's not just for looks. Cash App card holders get exclusive discount on things that we all already buy, like coffee, video games, food delivery, and even early access to concert tickets for people like Scissor and Kendrick. Security's also locked in. If your card ever gets lost or stolen, you can freeze it instantly in the app. And if you set up direct deposit, you can get no-fee overdraft coverage up to $200. And here's the best part. New customers can use my code to earn additional cash. Just download Cash App, and after you sign up, use code CASHIN10 in your profile. And you'll get $10 dropped into your account after you send $5 or more to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. So customize your card, save money, and get paid. Use my link in the description. Thank you, Cash App, for the sponsor. Now let's see this Zapdos encounter. Oops, it's a Moltres. I forgot. All right, here we go. Come on. Ultras, no! I never get lucky with these, dude. And the Cash App sponsored Moltres. Oh, that's so cool. We got the background. Back to the... But let's run some numbers. Scopely bought Pokemon Go, the games division, for $4 billion. Scopely is technically a games development studio, but they are owned by a venture capital firm that is owned by the government of Saudi Arabia. They are looking for money to be recouped from $4 billion of an investment. Pokemon Go, to a lot of people, is a game. It's like a lifestyle. It's a passion thing. That's you and me, right? The players. Pokemon Go, to the people who own the game, it's an investment. Which, like, I don't know, the morality aside, like, it's business, right? It makes sense. Like, the reason why we have Pokemon Go is because a company started and wanted to raise money and put a game into the world that did a cool thing, and that's why Pokemon Go is here, right? So you can't be too mad about it, but end of the day, the people who own Pokemon Go look at the game as an investment. Right, so a $4 billion investment. Pokemon Go, on average, over the last 9 years, has made somewhere between $600 million to $1 billion in revenue per year. And with that, let's estimate around like a 30% profit margin, because for companies like this, gaming companies, like mobile gaming companies, profit margins are relatively high. Pokemon Go does a lot of like live events, and they do a lot of in-person things, and they have a huge team of employees. They also have a huge building in like the heart of San Francisco, which is very expensive real estate, and that means that they have to pay like California state tax, which is a lot. I would know. I'm in Los Angeles. So let's say after it's all said and done, Pokemon Go per year makes around a 30% average profit margin, which means $800 million a year in revenue. They do $240 million a year in profit, which is insane. If you didn't just spend $4 billion on the game. For Scopely to recoup the $4 billion they spent to buy Pokemon Go, it would take about 16 and a half years at the average profit margin per year in order to recoup the $14 billion. A lot of times when major companies buy assets or buy game studios or buy anything for billions of dollars, they typically look for a 10 to 30 year return window on that investment. Obviously, some longer, some shorter. But for a video game, like a video game doesn't last that long. Call of Duty comes out with a new game almost every single year, right? Some games like Fortnite are a little bit different, and Minecraft and Roblox to where like they've been around forever and will be around forever, and Pokemon will also be around forever. But the question is, will Pokemon Go be around forever? There's mobile games, legacy mobile games like Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, Candy Crush that have been around for over a decade and will be around probably forever, and they'll be making money forever. Pokemon Go will be one of those games to where like it will always exist, but the big question is how popular will it be going into the future? Will people still be playing 16 years from now, and will they still be able to make an average of $240 million per year in profit 16 years from now? I think Scopely knows that's a bit of a big risk, considering the game is already 9 years old, and we've kind of run out of new Pokemon to introduce, right? Like there's some things that we're still waiting on, some mythicals, some legendaries, a bunch of shinies, like parts of generations, but most of the Pokemon that exist in the Pokemon universe are in Pokemon Go. So 16 and a half years to recoup their $4 billion investment and get into the profit, I think is too long to wait for Scopely. And I don't blame them. Listen, I like to think I'm a business guy, you know? You all know me as Mystic7, which is a YouTube brand and business that has been relevant and operating for 12 years now, which is great. Woo! It's kind of insane, actually. Some people know me as Mystic Rips, which is its own YouTube channel brand and business, and it has like business kind of arms branching off of that. My name is Brandon Martin, and my Brandon Martin name has its own brand with its own new business. I own part of a software company that does development and tool building for content creators. That's kind of part of the Brandon Martin side of things. So like, I'm very pro-business. But as a lover of Pokemon Go since the game came out, and as like, you know, one of the spokespeople, I guess, on YouTube at the very least, a little concerned about it going into the future. Because take all of this math, $4 billion spent, $240 million a year average profit prediction, 16-year recoup on the investment. It's not good enough. So now enter the new Pokemon Go. Listen, when Scopely was going to buy Pokemon Go, everyone was so concerned. Everyone was so concerned because there are other games that Scopely owns. They have some like more intense monetization strategies, I guess you'd say. People were joking that when Scopely bought Pokemon Go, we would have to watch an ad in order to catch a shiny that we encountered in the wild, right? Like, people were pretty worried. It hasn't been that bad. That bad as in we haven't had to watch ads in game. Instead, though, this is what we've seen. A monthly $8 Go Pass Deluxe that gives you a legendary Pokemon encounter and a lucky trinket, which is a brand new item you can only get by paying the $8. The Golden Bottle Cap, which is a brand new item that gets any Pokemon you have to 100% IV for $20. The remote raid pass limit has been increased. There have been a lot more exciting raid bosses. There's been more special background raid bosses, more focus on raids during major events, more focus on Dynamax and Gigantamax Pokemon, more frequent paid ticket options for events, and more free to paid upgrade model for major events. They are milking for money right now. It feels like every intelligent, tested, new monetization strategy they could possibly throw at Pokemon Go without putting ads in the game, they are doing. But is this a bad thing? Let's break this down. Looking at the list of the couple things that they added to the game in order to like hyper monetize it, essentially. The Go Pass Deluxe for $8 makes sense. It's kind of like a battle pass. It's just like, well, it was a less fun version, but it's kind of getting more fun now because of the lucky trinket and because of the legendary encounter with the background. And there's so many great encounters along the way, and you can earn Stardust beyond rank 100. It's kind of sick. And a lot of battle passes in Fortnite, in Clash of Clans, in Call of Duty, all cost money to purchase if you want the premium track, right? So this isn't new, and this isn't hated. Actually, a lot of people like this, especially in the other games like Fortnite. And I've been asking for a battle pass in Pokemon Go for literally 5 years now since Fortnite came out, which was more than 5 years ago, but you get what I'm saying, right? So this like $8 Go Pass Deluxe, I kind of like it. I do wish there was a way to get the lucky trinket for free. You know, I wish there was a way to earn it, but this is kind of the way that these freemium games go, like Fortnite, to where if you want the premium stuff, you have to pay for the premium stuff, but you can still get rewards and other things from the Go Pass, but you can pay extra to get the extra things. I will say the very cool part about the Go Pass Deluxe is that the free version still gives you the legendary Pokemon encounter with a background. So you're getting a free legendary with an exclusive background that has very high trade value and can be shiny. And if you want the lucky trinket, you then pay $8. So they're giving us free things, tons of free things in the Go Pass, including a free legendary encounter, which Niantic took away from the research breakthrough box. So Scopely brought that back, But there's a new exciting item, and if you want to, and with a ton of value, by the way, the Lucky Trinket is fantastic. And if you want to use that and get that and guarantee a lucky trade like once a month, you got to pay the $8. Personally, not too bad about that. Feels kind of balanced. The $20 golden bottle cap. Okay, this one's a little crazier. The golden bottle cap is an item that allows you to improve the IVs of a Pokemon. You can improve each of the 3 stats, making the Pokemon, you can make it go from 0% IVs to 100%, right? So everybody, including myself, use this to get Shundos. So you can take a shiny Pokemon that is not 100% IV, give it the golden bottle cap, complete the challenges within a year, and then you've got your Shundo. That is an awesome feature. That's insane. That's mind-blowing. I love that I could do that, and that's an option. The only catch, it's $20. This is obviously way more expensive than the $8 Lucky Trinket, but if you think about what you're getting for that golden bottle cap, I cannot tell you how much money I have spent to try to get a Shundo in Pokemon Go. And I understand you can get one for free just by trading, just constantly daily trading your special trades, and then lucky trades, you have a 1 in 64 chance of getting a Shundo. So like just get Lucky Friends, which is free with your friends, and then trade and you can get a Shundo. That's one way to do it, right? The other way to do it is brute force, primarily through raids or eggs. And that's kind of where all of my Shundos have come from, raids and eggs specifically. So to pay $20 and take a Pokemon that I really love or I think is really special or really, really rare, like my Zacian, which I like have a memory with. I caught it with friends in Japan. It got the background. It's shiny. Like this is a cool time capsule Pokemon for me. And to pay $20 to make it a Shundo, I do that every day, bro. You know, obviously I'm not most people, you know, like, again, going back to the business thing, it is my business to make videos covering Pokemon Go, which also means spending. So like I, for my job, need to spend to do things in Pokemon Go. So obviously the like budget that I have per month to spend on the game is much different than most people. And I recognize that, right? But even for a normal person who's free to play, to pay $20 to guarantee a Shundo is kind of an insane deal, considering just how insane and rare they are, right? If it doesn't matter to you, if Shundos don't matter to you, then like don't spend the $20, right? But Golden Bottle Cap coming to Pokemon Go, it's an awesome feature. I'm really happy it's here. I can't wait for the Silver Bottle Caps, hopefully to be introduced one day. But like $20 for a Shundo, I'll pay. Then we've got the remote raid pass limit increasing, and when Niantic nerfed that, the community imploded. We were so mad. So they increased the remote raid pass limit to 10 per day. It might even be 20 per day now. And they keep increasing it for special events, 20 per day, 30 per day, unlimited over certain raid weekends. But we have the limit now at 10 per day, which I think is a much better balance considering legendary raid shiny odds are 1 in 20. So at least you know, if you want to use all 10 of your remote raid passes per day, which is a lot of money, might I add. I would know because we do it on stream sometimes. You get a 50% chance at a legendary every day. You know what I'm saying? So like shiny legendary. So I've been asking for the remote raid pass limit to increase since they nerfed it. So like I'm so excited to finally have like a little more flexibility on remote raids. What they didn't do is bring the price down. The price has stayed the same, and I do not see them bringing the price down, unfortunately. I know we're all asking for that, and I can hear the comments already of like, yeah, but they didn't bring the price down. I agree. I don't think they're going to, because again, they're looking to recoup $4 billion. There's just no way they bring the base price down on remote raid passes, especially when people are buying them like crazy again. You know, what we're seeing instead of the price coming down on the remote raid pass, I think what they're trying to do is increase the value of the raids that you're doing. And they're doing it in a couple of ways. For one, more exciting raid bosses. For a couple of years there, all the raid bosses kind of sucked every month. You know, there was like maybe one exciting one a quarter, you know? Right now, we've got Mega Rayquaza coming out during this new season. We had Origin Form Dialga and Palkia that were just here. We have Shadow Kyogre and Shadow Groudon in the Shadow Raids. We had the Gigantamax weekend over like recently. Like, you know, GoFest had all of these crazy raid bosses. I think we have like Necrozma just randomly back in raids right now. These are really good raid bosses that typically would only come out like once, like a month or every other month. And they're like really shifting through the good ones. So that's fun. We have like more of a reason to spend on remote raids, you know, and I would rather spend, if I'm going to buy an expensive remote raid pass, I would rather use it on a Necrozma than a Tapu Koko, you know? So they're doing that. There's also more special background raid bosses. I made a video talking about this, basically the evolution of rarity in Pokemon Go, but back in 2016, the rarest thing you could get was a wild spawn of a fully evolved Pokemon like a Charizard. Whereas now today, 9 years later, the rarest thing that you could get is a shiny 100% IV special background lucky Pokemon. Very different. But the cool thing with all these special backgrounds and all these unique and cooler, honestly, special background designs is that, like, you kind of get a little bit more value when you do a raid because, well, assuming you're lucky. But, like, not only can the Pokemon or the legendary be shiny, but it could have a special background, and that's really cool. You know, like, that adds a lot to the raid experience. It's like more reason to raid, more value when you spend on a raid because you can get more from it, right? And you're not just getting a legendary, you're getting a shiny legendary. And you're not just getting a shiny legendary, you're getting a shiny background legendary. You know, like, there's more tiers of value and rarity added onto the Pokemon to bring the raids a little bit more valuable, or bring them more value. I will say, you're not getting that every single raid, right? So, like, here's kind of like the gambling aspect of the entire Pokemon franchise, quite honestly, that, like, is part of Pokemon Go, to where, like, it's a 1 in 10 chance for a background, a 1 in 20 chance for a shiny legendary. It's not that easy to get a shiny background legendary. You're gonna have to spend a lot if you really want to do that, you know? So, like, there's that. I recognize that they're not just giving us value, right? Like, they're incentivizing us to spend more. That's the whole game they're playing here. And that's the common thread you're gonna see in all of these things that I'm talking about, is that they're not just giving us more value, they're giving us more reason to spend by adding more value. Because at the end of the day, Scopely is going to win if we spend more. And we're only going to spend more if they incentivize us to. And I think this community is mature enough after 9 years to, like, not go crazy and just completely buy out scams. You know, like, if they're trying to charge like 100 Pokecoins to catch a shiny Pokemon in an encounter screen, you know, like, there's like a tax on catching shinies. Like, I think that would kill the game, because I think that wouldn't really fly with you know, all the OG people who've been around for a long time, you know. But if you keep adding these cool, exciting things to the game, and you don't have to spend if you don't want to, but if you want these cool, exciting things, you can spend on them, like, that incentivizes player spend, and it makes the game more fun. And that's the whole thing when I'm saying, like, is this really a bad thing for Pokemon Go? Because the game's becoming more fun. There's, like, more items, there's more to do, there's more ways to get more things like lucky Pokemon and XP and Stardust and Shundos. There's more tiers of rarity, which means there's, like, more stuff to hunt for, you know? And that's how they're solving the entire generate, like, all the 1,000 plus Pokemon will eventually be in Pokemon Go, and there's not going to be that many exciting Pokemon we don't have. So how do you make the existing Pokemon more exciting? You add layers of rarity, costumes, background, I forgot costumes, background, shiny, Dynamax, Gigantamax, Shadow, you know, these, like, layers of rarity keep the existing Pokemon pool interesting forever, right? And that's the whole goal for the game, is to stay interesting forever. And these are the ways that not only make the money, but kind of make sense, because I don't know how else they would make this game interesting over the next 20 years without, like, forcing the Pokemon company to add a new Pokemon every day, which they're not going to do, you know? So how do you make the existing gameplay and the existing Pokemon more exciting? You just keep adding stuff, you know? Add features, add backgrounds, add costumes. Like, everybody loves a hat, I guess, you know? So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that I exactly agree with the aggressive monetization happening, but I do recognize that they're doing it in a way that at least makes the game more fun and gives us all more things to, like, do and hunt. The game felt stale for a long time as Niantic was running it after COVID, because the game was very exciting and we had all these new things and these remote raid passes, and, like, the game was very raid heavy and we were all spending like crazy, but nobody cared because it was so fun. And then after that, the game just kind of felt boring. It felt stale. There wasn't really new features or new things being added. There were bugs. The game was breaking all the time. The like, weekly spawn rotation sucked. The event spawns weren't good. The raid bosses were just okay. Like, there wasn't that much going down, and that's when the game was, like, I guess, like, financially responsible in a way to where they weren't over monetizing. But Scopely entered in all of these new monetization tactics, which have made the game more expensive. But we're seeing new features release fast. Like, level 80 is coming. Okay, let me explain how Pokemon Go works. There's, like, one big update a quarter in the history of Pokemon Go. Maybe one big update a year. You know, I'm talking, like, new features and new items added. Okay, like, we don't see new stuff that often. Niantic slowed the rate of the game's progress down like crazy to elongate the future of the game. Scopely is not doing that. Scopely is throwing new things at us left and right, and new updates and new items and new features and new backgrounds and new rarities, and a lot of it has a price tag attached to it, or some level of a price tag attached to it. But it's new and fun and exciting. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's more expensive. Don't get me wrong, okay? And I'll talk about that in a second, in the ways, the reasons why I think that's bad. I will talk about that because I feel like I sound like I'm just like kissing up to Scopely right now. But I just think that like how Niantic handled COVID, right, kept the game alive, kept it fun, and it kept it going. And I thought they did a great job with that. I think how Scopely is handling the monetization of this game feels like the best version of it because it feels like we're getting a lot from it. I'll give an example. The Reggies came back to the raids. We all hate the Reggies. But what what Scopely did, right, what the Pokemon Go team did, which was great, was that the Reggies could have a special background. And the background was pretty sick, and it was unique to each Reggie, which incentivized you and me to go out and to spend extra money every single day to try to get the unique background that matched the unique Reggie, right? It was very expensive if you're someone like myself and who spends constantly on the game or are incentivized to spend on the game. If you're like a background shiny hunter, that was a very expensive week. But the cool thing, which I hope they do more of because this was great, was every time you did a Reggie raid and completed one, you would get a free Reggie encounter after that. It was like a buy one, get one free, literally. Like they're just deploying normal marketing and sales tactics into Pokemon Go. Like you got a BOGO. You got a BOGO Reggie, and the BOGO could have a shiny background. It was great. You know what I'm saying? It's like providing extra value, I think, is the right way to do it. And it feels like that's what they're doing. With the other things as well, there's more focus on raids during events. I think that just is like, that's just how it is, I guess, you know? That's how it's probably going to be, of just like raids are always going to be a very big part of each event because they make the most money. So that's a good and a bad thing, right? I think if the events become too dependent on raids, I think that makes the gameplay boring. So they've seemed to have been balancing that out pretty well when it comes to like research and spawns and other features. But I really hope that like, you know, we still always see a balance between like wild gameplay and raid gameplay, you know? Like we can't have like a Go Fest Max finale every weekend. And speaking of that, there's a much bigger focus on the Gigantamax and Dynamax event. I spent $1,000 in-game in Pokemon Go over the Go Fest Max finale weekend, and I played like 40% of it. Granted, obviously, like I played it very hard, and like I just like spend infinitely on the game, so I'm probably spent more than most players, but like I could have spent a lot more than that if I actually like grinded that weekend as hard as I would typically grind like a Go Fest weekend. But during a Go Fest weekend, I'd spend maybe, you know, $200 to $400 in Pokecoins, maybe, because you don't really spend that much Pokecoins unless you're like raiding like crazy or hatching eggs. But I'd spend like a couple $100 on a Go Fest weekend, which is the biggest event of the year, by the way. So if you're going to spend a couple $100 on the weekend, Go Fest is the weekend to do it. Typically, I would spend it on that. I spent like 2 to 3 times that on this Max finale, and there was like, it was just Dynamax and Gigantamax raids, you know? And I think we're going to see a lot more of a focus on Gigantamax and Dynamax just because it's so much money for them because you're buying particle packs and you're buying remote raid passes. So we're probably going to see more of that. I will say the Dynamax feature came out, and I thought it was cool when it came out, and then everyone stopped caring about it. It was just boring. Like, no one cared about Dynamax. And then Gigantamax came out. It was exciting when it first came out, and then it was kind of boring. And, like, the bosses were too hard to defeat. You know, the rewards that you got from it, like, were good, but, like, they're too hard. It just, like, wasn't fun. And I think now, after the Go Fest Max finale weekend, they've discovered how to make it fun because we all spent money on it, which means we think it's fun, you know, which is like these backgrounds and these shinies and these boosted events. And, you know, you can now have 100 people in the raid lobby instead of 20 or 40 or whatever it was. Like, they're better. The Gigantamax and Dynamax system has been made better, and it's more fun to engage with. Is it cheaper? No. And that's the problem, right? Is that, like, things are getting more fun, but more expensive, right? And that brings me to what the real problem here is. And I know I've been, a lot of this video has been me talking about how good I think this is for the game and how much I agree with it. I kind of hesitate to like say that just because I don't fully. So let me provide some balanced perspective here. The real problem with this is that Pokemon Go is a free-to-play game, right? And it's a video game. This is not like the money that we spend on Pokecoins are not going into, it's not going into our 401k. You know, it's like getting a shiny Pokemon doesn't equate to getting like a stock that pays us out. Like, this is a game, right? And these are worthless digital assets that we're all buying, you know? So to make it so insanely expensive to play and collect doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Pokemon cards is very different, where there's a monetary value and a resale market and an investment strategy with Pokemon cards, right? Like, Pokemon cards have appreciated in value historically. There's a supply crunch model that happens on the older product, so it always appreciates. And like, there's a huge buy-sell trade market, and like, you can buy a box of Pokemon cards and turn around and sell it immediately for cash. You cannot do that with Pokemon Go, right? So for the game to get too expensive starts to make less and less sense for people who are spending on it. And what you're going to see and what you are seeing is that people are feeling like they're getting squeezed out. They're getting priced out of the game. This is a free game that people feel like they're getting priced out of. Like, let me say that again. This is a free-to-play game that people feel like they can't play anymore because they can't afford it. That doesn't make any sense. So what the real problem, I think, right now is the fact that people are getting priced out. And that sucks for two reasons. One, it's just kind of unfair to people who have, like, invested so much of their life and their time into, like, playing the game and being they're a lifelong committed community member and player, and just because they don't have a lot of money, like that shouldn't affect their ability. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously there's a level of monetization that is a part of Pokemon Go, and there always has been and there always will be, but like it feels a little unfair to price people out of the game because they refuse to or can't just throw money down the drain to like enjoy Pokemon Go, which again is not a hard physical asset. Like, you're not going to resell your account for anywhere near the amount of money you spent on the account. Pokemon cards are different. Pokemon Go is not. So there's that, right? It's unfair that people are getting priced out. And then the problem for the people who don't get priced out is that less and less people will play Pokemon Go or engage with it or spend on it because more and more people are going to feel like they can't afford it and they're getting priced out. So what happens, and this is a thing that has happened with games in the past as well, what happens is that the existing player base gets smaller, and therefore the developers need to squeeze the existing player base even more, make things even more expensive because there's less people spending. So they need the average person to spend more in order to get the same amount of profit or the same amount of growth they're getting year over year on their profit, which means the game just gets more expensive. Like it's just even more expensive. There's even more things to buy. So I think that's the hard part, right? And I think that's why I sound so pro what's happening, but also why I'm against what's happening is because it's difficult, it's complicated, it's life, it's finances. The game's getting fundamentally better and more fun. There's more features being introduced than ever before. The game is running smoothly, better than ever before. The updates and the events are fun and exciting. There's new levels of rarity that we're all having a good time hunting. The game's getting better, but the game's getting so much more expensive. I don't know how many of you track your spending. I would highly recommend it. There's an app called Copilot that I use that literally you just attach your bank account and your credit cards to, and like you sort all of your expenses so you can see what you're spending on. Track your expenses. I would be so curious to see what the average person's average spend on Pokemon Go has been over the last 6 months, because I think there's been a clear ramp. And for a lot of people, at some point up that ramp, they have to tap out. And tapping out either means stopping spending less, or quitting the game. Because a lot of people feel the FOMO. I can empathize with those of you that are like, you know what? I can't afford this and the FOMO is too strong, so I'm going to quit. Because either I cannot control myself and I will spend on this game when I don't have the money to do it, or this feels unfair that I've played this game for so many years and I've given so much of myself to this game and I'm now priced out and I don't even want to engage with it anymore. Like, that makes a lot of sense. And like, that makes a lot of sense, And it feels like we're kind of getting to that place. I have a short script to my right that basically just gives me talking points of the things that I want to go over so I remember it. And the last thing that I wrote in the script is, the game is getting better and will get more fun, ... but at what cost? That is the question that I leave you with. Pokemon Go is getting better, and it's going to keep getting better and more fun and more exciting. But will it get too expensive to make sense? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching.